the big water pool that they have in the back of the studio lot, where they would always film the water scenes, the water tank scenes. It's very funny. So, and so that's basically the film. The film concludes, if you, at least in the Japanese version, it concludes with it's a very odd song, which basically has lyrics like "Goodbye Godzilla, my old friend," sung by the Star Sisters. This is a 45 that I got of the ending theme for the Japanese version. I don't think that this song survived in the American version, but it's. What was so funny is that when I was there in Japan to see this film, you know, the friend of mine that I went with to see it, he asked me after the film, he says, "So the Star Sisters are really famous in the U.S., right? You know, what other films? What other songs did they make?" I said, "I don't have the slightest idea who the hell these people are." So yeah, I guess in Japan they became big for their 5 minutes of fame after this movie because they sang the ending theme for this film. Kind of a weird song for the ending of the film, but you know they were trying to make the idea that it's it's kind of like a sad thing, and you know of course Godzilla will always be seen again.
Most anime have songs that have nothing to do with the actual storyline.
Yes. And of course, then there's a year later they Americanized the film Godzilla 1985, and the one thing I'll give them credit for is that they got Raymond Burr to come back to reprise his role from the original film that he started the American version of the original 1954 Godzilla, which came out here in '56, but. He was really happy and enthusiastic about it because he always felt like, hey, that it may have been like a little job, but he was always very proud of his involvement with Godzilla, and he thought that the movie had a good message. And when they hired him here to do this, he took it really seriously again. And in fact, there was a little bit of conflict on the set because the people who Americanized this, they wanted to treat it as a big joke. And they threw in these comedy scenes of one of these, you have the American Army general and his like lieutenant or whatever, and the guy's always making wise cracks and trying to make funny jokes. And Raymond Burr hated that and made them actually cut it back a little bit. So I mean, I'll give props to Raymond Burr for helping him treat Godzilla a little more seriously than they would have otherwise. The Japanese release poster, which features the old Saibot. Again, Saibot was great for publicity, but unfortunately not for much else beyond that. So that's my presentation on '84 Godzilla. Any questions, comments, discussion?
Yeah, I saw that movie as a kid.
You've answered everyone's questions.
What came after '84? I forgot. Was it
Violante. But it didn't. Oddly enough, I mean, the movie made pretty good money, and this thing was up against two big blockbusters. It was up against Ghostbusters and Gremlins. They both got released at the same time. In fact, I went to see Gremlins right after I went to see Godzilla because I love Gremlins. Regardless of that, I mean, up against those two big blockbusters, this thing held its own and made just about as much money as they did. So, thinking about the competitive environment for this film, the film really did quite well. And so it's really puzzling to me to this day why they waited 5 whole years to follow up and make another one.
Well, I had no idea there were movies after this until I started going to cons and seeing them on VHS. What? There's more Godzilla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like they really missed an opportunity.
You mentioned Godzilla
Here
versus
and in Japan,
Violante,
they're just an opportunity.
and when that American Godzilla version came out with Nolan North or something, I worked in a movie theater at that time, and when that movie came out, I had a small collection of Heisei era Godzilla movies, so I said, we got a little TV VCR there. I could bring one of these Godzilla videos over, and we could let it run through the day to help, promote this Godzilla movie. Because I thought, before it came out, we all thought, hey, this might be cool.
Yeah, well,
But they told me a couple of days when I came in. They said that video you brought in, it's more popular than the Godzilla movie.
For sure. You know, yeah, I mean, I had lots of hopes for the American version too, because, yeah, I mean, personally, I loved Independence Day. I thought, oh, these guys know how to do massive destruction, so Godzilla's all about massive destruction, but unfortunately, it was the army that destroyed everything. Godzilla didn't destroy hardly anything.
At least they made a decent animated series out of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's just trying to defend his territory and tell everybody to get the heck out.
You're darn right.
It's like- it's like my cats.
I hardly agree.
You
That,
got
that's always
this, you
been,
got
that's,
that, you're not coming
yeah,
in.
that's always been my take.
I wonder then when they put Godzilla on Monster Island with all those other monsters out there, you'd think they'd all be fighting each other all the time for territory.
Yeah.
I never understood that.
Well, you know, I don't know if it, you know, what their concept was. I mean, there's a lot of like, you know, things that I've seen in books, like that in some places they, and I think this is all stuff that fans made up, so it's not like canon or anything, but like there were different sections of the island where each monster was confined to their own environment, so they didn't really interact that much, or things like that.
Yeah, well,
That could have been, of course,
Yeah.
then how to explain Rodan, who can fly all over the place wherever he wants to go.
well,
So-
it's not only Godzilla, but in the Jurassic Park series, on the second book, they talk about how predators will segregate themselves during certain times of day, and they will rotate, and then they won't bother anything as long as there's food to equal them out in their areas.
And that is one of
Yeah.
the things that they tried to make an emphasis of in the film, was that basically, you know, there's plenty of things for the creatures to eat, so there's,
So they
you know,
don't compete.
if they're not, you know, if they're
Yeah.
not preying on each other, then
Yeah, that would make sense.
maybe they would leave themselves alone, but of course, they've always kind of prided or based this, you know, all the monster appearances in the series that, you know, whenever one would see the other, that somehow they were like instinctive enemies, so.
It's on site.
It was a little bit of a stretch, but, you know, I think that's well within the realm of suspension of disbelief, and, you know, it made a great premise. I really thought that as a destroy monsters, Monster Island was such a great idea.
Yeah,
I would like to see them pursue that,
yeah.
like in future films, like some more exploration of that idea. I think would have been a great thing.
See,
But
they
him
like,
catching his food was like the only eating scene that we did.
Yeah,
yeah.
outside of camera films where monsters were eating people all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing next, running around. Yeah, the other thing though is like Godzilla fights Mothra, and then all of a sudden Mothra and Godzilla are best buds. A lot of people I've heard that, you know, oh, they like each other, maybe they got a relationship going or something. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. I think they're just friends. But they don't fight each other that much down the road. They're like, Mothra always comes in and helps Godzilla or whatever. And they even did that in the Monsterverse stuff. where
Well, I
Mothra
always
comes
feel
in.
like it's
Monsterverse is really taken to
teenagers.
that monster.
Like you do, and they fight,
Yeah.
and then if they're, we do, right? After you fight, you're best friends afterwards.
Yeah.
That's just high school, that's what it is.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe he realizes Mothra's not a threat to his territory.
So yeah, we
You
can
get
do
this
that.
side, I'll get this
Now.
side. Same thing with Rodan. You get the skies, I'll take everything else.
All right, we fought, we're cool,
Yeah.
we're cool now, like, all right.
I just wish I had a Godzilla. That would run baby Godzilla.
Yeah, this is my
Oh,
magazine.
the bullies in my neighborhood, leave me alone.
And actually, this one, this one has to be for,
Yeah.
this is the sort of side.